Hi everyone, this is Elena Kraus and welcome to another card video. In this video, I will introduce you to the new Altenew Mini Blossom die cutting machine. As well, we're going to make a card using the Peony build a flower stamp set and dies along with another stamp set. So this is the Sakura flower. I was going to use that one, but you will see by the end of the video I changed my mind. So let's first take a look at the Mini Blossom die cutting machine. So I have it still in the box here, so I'm just taking it out. And it's very small and I like the design of it. It kind of has printed gold flowers from the Dahlia, I believe it was Dahlia Beautiful Life stamp set. So it's about 5.5 inches wide and then it's about 4.5 inches tall. So it's pretty tiny. It's a card front and then plus the handle, and it comes with 2 cutting pads, so there are no other cutting pads, so there are only 2. So let's get started now. I'm gonna be using my Mini MISTI to stamp the flowers, to layer them together. So this is 3-step layering stamp set. So I'm stamping with starting with the largest Peony. And I apologize for my head here before I start stamping because those are like larger flowers. I'm conditioning my stamp with Versamark, and first I had some smears on it that ink got before that, so I just wanted to clean it up. So I just wanted to have nice and saturated look. So I'm stamping 3 times. Next I'm layering the second step. So just make sure it's layered there. I'm gonna pick it up with the lid of my Mini MISTI. So I'm making sure that paper is nice and snug in the corner. And I'm using the Lagoon ink pad. I have all the supplies listed in this post. So again, I'm stamping a couple times to get nice, solid and saturated look, kind of bold look. And then I'm going with the stamping the center. I'm using the emerald ink for the center. I'm just positioning that one, picking it up with the lid of my MISTI, and stamping a couple times. So this flower is done. So next I'll move to the smaller flowers. I'm gonna stamp both of them at once. And I will use the pink diamond ink. And again, I conditioned my stamps using Versamark, and then I just wiped it off with my hand. And again, like I did for the previous flower, I'll stamp those 2 flowers a couple times to get nice and saturated look. So I'm just going 3rd time here. So this as well allows us to have a darker shade of the pink. Next I'm layering the second step. And for this one I'll be using the Rubelite ink. So I'm just layering those one by one. Again, I'm conditioning my stamps with Versamark and then applying the ink. So I stamp once and I'll go one more time. So I'm done with that. Now I'll stamp the centers. So I'm positioning both at once and picking them up with the lid of my MISTI. And for those I'll be using the Raspberry ink pad, and I stamped it twice. So we have the flowers done. Next I'll stamp a bunch of leaves, and for the leaves I'll be using bamboo, olive and moss ink pads. So I'm just stamping 2 of the 2 leaves at once. So I'm going with the first solid stamp and the lightest color. So I'm gonna stamp a bunch of those. So next I'm going with the second layer, second step of the stamp, and the leaves as well have 3 steps. It's like 3 steps stamping. So next I'm positioning the second leaf, picking it up, and then I'm using the olive ink pad to stamp those. So I'll quickly stamp all of the leaves. I'm stamping about 8 leaves at once. Well, not really at once, but 2 by 2. So next I'm going with the last layer, kind of positioning that, lining it up with the image on the bottom, and then I'm using the moss ink pad to stamp the last layer. So I'm pretty much finishing up here. So next I'll just trim those in half so they fit through the mini blossom machine, and then I'm just securing the dies and running it through the mini blossom die cutting machine. So I'm just going to do the same for all of the elements that I need for my card. So for this one I cut 2 flowers at once because they fit nicely. So we have here, I am using the medallion cover plate to add a little bit more interest on my card base. So it's black on black, adds a little bit more texture. So I'm cutting the leaves now 2 by 2. And this machine is pretty sturdy. So I'll show you in a second the bottom. And when you put it on your surface, it's pretty sturdy, and it stands still. It doesn't move around. So I have all my leaves done. So here is the bottom. And it's pretty nice and sturdy and stable. So let's move on to finishing up all the elements. So I'm using the medium color of ink pad that I use for all of the elements to just add some sponging on the sides, so we're not seeing that white border, because the dies cut very closely to the edge, so you don't see that white border around the flowers or the leaves that you usually see in other die cuts. So I'm just adding those to add a little bit more texture and dimension. Next I'm doing the blue flower using the Lagoon ink pad. So I have my elements. Now I'm adhering that die cut cover plate. So I'm just adding some Nuvo liquid adhesive. And I'm using the mini MISTI to kind of position that in the corners so everything lines up nicely. So now I'm just trying to find a position where I want my flowers and leaves to go. I think that I found pretty nice position. I'm just folding the leaves, the petals of the flowers upward a little bit. And next I'm using some mounting tape to adhere them to my card base. So I think that's pretty good. Next I'll do the leaves. I'm not adding dimensional tape for those. I'm just using the liquid adhesive. So then I'll add 2 more leaves on the sides here. So next I'm using some lacquer pen to add in the center of the flowers. And then I'll use some white Nuvo drops to add around the background. Kind of the white on the black pops up and gives extra interest. Then I'm putting a piece of black cardstock back in my MISTI, and I'll stamp the sentiment. So here is where I decided that I didn't want to use the Sakura Build-A-Flower for my sentiment because they're pretty wide, pretty tall. So I'm using the Floral Garden. It comes with the it is part of the card kit. So I stamped that, and then I'm just trimming my sentiment. Next I'll use black mounting tape to adhere that to my card and add a few extra Nuvo drops. Next I'm using shimmer pen to add a little bit more interest to my flowers. I'm just adding to the darker areas, the little stripes of the peony. And this will pretty much finish my card. So I'm just fixing that one dot there. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit my blog. See you soon. Bye!